as we know, it is we hear a lot of um, scenarios. We hear people are triggered by relationships. We hear about cheating. We hear about all kinds of different things that goes on inside relationships. Sadly, we hardly ever hear about the highlights of the enduring relationships, the healthy relationships, the peaceful relationships, the relationships that stirs and sparks growth and people begin to move in their potential. That's what relationships should do and provide for us, just in basic summary. Um, but very interesting. Someone shared with me some recent stats, and of course, we know statistics just depends on different sources and so forth. So I just want to use it as a basis for us to understand what I'm going to share. Currently, they say that the divorce rate is around flirting between 50 to 60%. Divorce rate. I mean, of course, it just varies. So we'll say, uh, around 50%, but they say it's around 55%. Um, the infidelity rate inside relations, in marriages and stuff, is flirting between 60 to 70%. And then the sexless um, marriage is flirting between 40 and 45%. And what's interesting about sexless marriages is the longer people are together, it seems like the number begins to grow. Okay. And so if this is what's happening in the current idea structure of relationships that everyone is really aspiring to be in, but these numbers are alarming and it's showing us something different. It's time to push the pause button. Let's stop venting and let's look at what is being reflected and let us try to come from a very neutral space and begin to unpack and uncover why these numbers are where they're at, right? And so, based off the numbers, it shows some basic things. When we talk about the divorce rate, it's showing something wrong with the structure. There's something wrong with the relationship structure, obviously, that's not complementing people that are in a particular set type of structural relationship. We know there's a myriad of different situations that happens that causes the people to make a choice to divorce. But at the end of the day, it's a structure. It's a structure that's obviously not working. So, so people need to what opt out of the relationship because they feel like the particular structure doesn't match or complement them. When we talk about the infidelity rate, we're talking about an issue about our attractions. There's obviously we are not being truthful with ourselves in the area of our sexual needs and so forth, or about our attractions. You know, the reality is we can't police attractions. The reality is we probably have multiple attractions, right? So it's obvious because based off the numbers, if you're looking at around what 60 to 70%, then obviously attractions are playing out in a particular structure that don't seem like it welcomes or complements what the attractions or people don't have the freedom to move in that type of attraction. I'm just saying from a neutral space is looking at the to unpack it. Then we talk about sexless marriages. Well, if it's around 40%, you know, and climbing, then that shows us that the sexual battery is being reduced within a certain structure or when people are in, a particular framework in a relationship. So there's something being unfolded and is trying to show us that we need to pay attention to if we want to move forward and have thriving, enduring, healthy relationships that stimulates our potential, activates our growth, and because we all need each other, so we need relationships. So there's something that we have to uncover and figure out. With all this in mind, it it reveals that most of our relationships wasn't driven by understanding our soul matrix. And our soul matrix rolls over into us making soul choices, what I like to call. And this is one of the things I do when I'm coaching, is the soul choice. We are most of us, and people won't really admit it, but most of us has made choices to enter into relationships based off of survival reasons, instinct, um, pleasantry, recreation, or and of course some type of potential. But it really wasn't really considered in terms of how people are really mirroring the different aspects of our soul matrix. And so because of that, as we begin to spend time with people, we begin to see certain things that might be experienced and manifesting, and it makes what? The soul feel uneasy. The soul wants to feel free. So inside relationships, the soul should feel free. But when the soul is not feeling free, then we're going to start to see some concerning expressions or actions that's going to begin to occur. And that leads to divorce, that leads to infidelity, that leads to sexless marriage. Okay? And so it all points to our soul choice. And so the soul choice helps us to begin to improve our decision making because we begin to make a decision based upon how we truly mirror each other. See, the problem with most relationships is that we promote people in position in our lives that don't qualify to be there because we have other motivations, other ambitions, or other things that are jading us to put someone there for the sake of tradition, when the reality is they don't fit there. So soul choice helps us understand and uncover that, hey, let's make sure we're mirroring and matching each other so that way we can have a relationship structured around each other, around who we really are to each other, right? Because the end of the day is when we start to do that, then we begin to understand that the soul choice allows us to be aware of we can customize our relationships around our soul choice matrix. Okay? So it's something to think about.